Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
I've told this story years ago, but it's been bothering me recently. 20 years old, overnight security guard. Large business building, only open at night to like 2 or 3 dudes who work nights to talk to their Chinese business partners, or cleaning staff who leave by 11 p.m. This particular night there's only one guy. The same guy I see every night. He works on the 8th floor. Cleaning staff is gone as it's 1 a.m. Do the rounds time. This means I take the elevator to the 45th floor and walk each hallway and inspect the fire escapes. Takes about an hour or so. I'm on the 23rd floor. My coworker is stationed in my seat on the 1st floor, and the only other soul in the building is on the 10th floor. I make my way to the 23rd floor's bathroom. Oh, neat, a fancy powder room with a couch. I sit down to check my phone for a minute, opens my phone, attempts to look at the text message. Instantly gripped with intense sleep paralysis. But I'm wide awake. I feel myself lose control of my body. My phone falls to the floor and shit goes real dark for me, like black. I see nothing but hear incredible screaming from every direction, getting closer rapidly. Literally trying to move hurts like when your legs get pins and needles, but my entire body. I try to stand but just fall to the floor on my knees. Scramble for my radio and baton. I do this crawling run out of the powder room and back into the hallway. I'm like wildly looking around like there's no way those voices came from nowhere. I took the elevator down to the 21st floor and continued my work faster than ever. I remained a skeptic, especially since at the time I posted on 4chan and was told sleep paralysis is normal. Maybe I didn't know I was tired, suggested someone else. I myself shrugged it off, until more shit happened. Several weeks later, like a dream, I almost forgot about that night. I was convinced and probably wanted to believe, that's just sleep paralysis. I guess I was tired. I'm doing my rounds again, and after weeks of ignoring the 23rd floor and swiftly getting in and out as fast as I can, I decided to walk around the offices. I'm allowed to, as long as I'm not like flashing pictures or stealing. 23rd floor folks also always tell us guards were welcome to snacks, which is great, but of course the office I'm allowed free snacks from is the very floor that scares the shit out of me. It was just one night, and I doubt this one floor is haunted. I decide to face my goddamn fears and just see what's up. Maybe grab said snack. Oh shit, not too scary actually, there's someone working. Aisles and aisles of cubicles, one desk with a lamp on. I walk over. Hey man, you still in here? Silence. Great. Nervously, I walk up to the desk. About 4 meters away now, just around the corner, and the lamp shuts off. As much as I don't want to, I have to fear the worst and assume this could be an intruder. I turn my flashlight on and run around the corner. Fucking nothing. My past self really wanted to not believe. I walked right into the weird pre-bathroom powder room with the couch again, maybe wanting to believe it was all in my head. I can't get sleep paralysis if I don't even sit down. Vignetting like on film starts to happen to me. The corners of my vision get dark and the screaming picks up slowly. I feel my legs get weak. Absolutely not. I speed well as fast as my legs will carry me. As much as I didn't want to admit it, that floor was haunted and wanted me to know and fear it.
I was going to Greentext my story, but it'd be easier for me to just type the whole thing out. A couple weekends ago, my friends and I went into the city for my bud's birthday, and we were staying at a small hotel. The night we get there, we all head straight to the bar to party until the wee hours. I'm a party pooper, so after a few hours I tell them I'm going to go back to the hotel and I'll see them later. At the hotel, I see a woman trying to get her baby carriage up the stairs. That's odd because there is an elevator. I tell her I'm going to use the elevator and that maybe it would be easier for her if she does too. She smiles and gets in with her baby carriage. Now this is not a normal stroller. This is an actual carriage like PIC related. Who uses those anymore? Anyway, it's just us in the elevator as the doors shut in front of us. She says her floor is the 3rd, which is right after mine. There's an awkward silence, but she doesn't seem to mind. She's just smiling at her baby and giggling, fixing the blankets. How sweet, I think. She's just cooing to the baby softly. I peer inside and see a baby doll. Just a doll. My blood ran cold. The elevator reaches the second floor and I thank Jesus Christ as I step out and head to my room. The woman reaches her hand out and holds the elevator door open. "Excuse me," she says. I turn around and see that she has a serious expression on her face. "I know you saw him." She said this with an eerie softness. I just smile nervously and continue walking to my room. I hear the elevator doors close as I get the room door open. Just to be sure, I check the hall to see if she followed me. She didn't, thank God. Basically noped the rest of the night, and when I told my friends they thought it was screwed up, but otherwise didn't care.
This stuff reminds me of a really disturbing experience my friend and I had at soccer camp. It's kinda late here, and I have an important test tomorrow, but I'll try to explain some of it. Back in 6th grade, my friend Kyle and I signed up for a soccer camp. I'm not going to say specifically where, but it was in the South and on a college campus. Anyways, we were allowed to roam the dorms before midnight because we didn't really have anything better to do, and the World Cup was on television. Kyle and I got kind of bored, so we decided to explore the hotel with 2 other kids, Seth and his friend Jack. We did some ding-dong-ditch sort of stuff for a little while, but it grew old and we started playing with the elevator. It's around midnight at this point. The elevator was one of those really sketchy old elevators with ratty carpet, an odd smell, flickering lights, the works. It made horrid groaning noises as well. Anyways, Seth decides he's just going to start mashing random buttons, and Kyle thinks it will be just completely hilarious to jump up and down. Bad idea. The elevator gets stuck. We start laughing about it, picking fun at Kyle because he's a larger sort of guy. Jack, however, is dead silent. He looks absolutely frightened. We try to ask him what he's worried about, but he just stops us mid-sentence. Jack just says, "Please tell me you guys hear that." "What? The elevator? It always makes that noise." "No, man, the screaming. You don't fucking hear it." None of us have any idea what Jack is talking about. Jack's getting really upset at this point and gets kind of shaky. Jack starts muttering swear words, and Seth just tries to get him to lighten up. The elevator lurches, and the lights flickers off and then back on, and the elevator starts moving normally again. We come up the 5th floor, but our stop is on the 7th. All of the damn buttons were still lit up, thanks to Seth, but we decided to take the stairs just because of the sketchiness of the elevator stopping like that, and because Jack was bordering on tears.
"You didn't hear anything at all yourself?"
Nothing at all. The elevator was humming and that was it. Seth seems kinda annoyed and starts trying to figure out what's gotten into Jack. Jack won't even respond at this point. The kid got his ears covered and is just muttering under his breath. We make it back to our dorms in a relatively normal fashion, and the 2 groups separate because Kyle and I shared a dorm, while Seth and Jack shared the dorm across the hall. Kyle and I watch a movie on his portable DVD player and then go to sleep. I slept pretty well, but had a really strange nightmare. I was walking around what looked like it was a military installation in a mature forest, except the colors were entirely off. Not really sepia tone, more like when you're low on blood in DayZ. Anyways, I'm driving around this area in a truck when I come up to a truck of an identical build. I have no idea why I'm driving, since I was around 12 at the time. I look the driver of the other truck straight in the eyes, and it's an exact replica of me. As soon as we made eye contact, everything was in a really strange trichrome. Neon blue, gray, and black. That was it. Then a maw opened up in the ground before me. I was swallowed in and was woken up from the sensation of falling. It was around 6 o'clock anyways, and Kyle was already up, so we went to breakfast early to avoid the normal 6:30 breakfast rush.
So after this event, have you had any more nightmares or weird dreams that have had the same events or close to the elevator, or of your dream, any close similarities?
Had a nearly identical dream to the military installation thing quite recently, actually. However, I'm my current age in this dream. The color change when I look at myself is much more dramatic, and it looks like an X-ray, but with the same colors I described earlier. The maw was specifically a wolf's head this time. Anyhow, Kyle and I get our food and walk over to our table, eat for a little while before Seth walks in. Jack's nowhere to be seen. Seth looks like he hardly slept at all that night. Seth explains that Jack seemed to calm down, but then started flipping shit at around 3 a.m. I'm not sure if any of you have a sibling who has had night terrors, but the way Seth described Jack's behavior seemed very similar to one. Jack bawled his eyes out while muttering about the screaming and stomped around the dorm for a good 30 minutes. At around 3:30, Jack just seems to snap out of it. Calmly sits down in a chair, pulls out his cell phone and calls his mother. Tells her to come pick him up immediately. Mom's pissed, for good reason, about having to drive at 3:30, but drives here anyways and takes the kid home. Weird, but we figure he just had something off in the head. I didn't see my nightmare as anything out of the ordinary, since I had really weird dreams as a child. The day goes by pretty normally. We play a few scrimmages, hanging around in the stairs again, this time accidentally dropping an ice cream cone from the top level of the flight of stairs. Some woman starts shrieking, so we just assume we accidentally dropped it on one of the awkward students who had been taking summer courses and staying in the same dorm. We walk down a few levels, and the ice cream is just sitting there. An Asian woman is 2 levels down, sitting with her back against the wall, crying. We try to ask her what's wrong, but she just shakes her head. We figure we tried, so we just leave again. Seth's kinda bothered by the recent events, so he asks to chill in our room tonight. He drags his mattress into our room and sleeps on the floor next to us. Nothing out of the ordinary that night. No dreams, no nothing. Once we all wake up, we take our turns using the restroom. I sneeze and manage to give myself a pretty good-sized bump on the head by hitting the sink in the process. After the ensuing jokes about my clumsiness, we head out to breakfast again. Returning from breakfast, Seth realizes he left his shin guards in his room. His keycard, however, doesn't work. We go down to the lobby, and the manager brings up his master key, opens the door. Doesn't let us in. He grabs Seth's stuff, throws it outside, tells Seth to stay in our dorm. We're all really confused. The next day was the last day of the camp, so we decided to take a ride in the elevator even though we had been specifically avoiding it since the incident with Jack. Because we were all about to leave the camp, Kyle decides to be an asshole to Seth, who was kinda paranoid about the whole thing, and punches the buttons to match up with Seth and Jack's old dorm number 712. Seth doesn't think it's funny in the slightest. The ride occurs normally as you could imagine, and the elevator was quieter than normal. We assumed that the technician had performed maintenance or something on it after it had stopped on us. Our parents signed us out of the camp, and Kyle and I rode in the same car. Kyle was really quiet the entire ride. Normally, he's making all kinds of jokes, but he just kinda sits there staring out the window. When we get back to our hometown, I ask him if everything is all right. I heard the screams. Absolutely nothing interesting happens during the next few weeks. It was still summer, I had no cell phone, and social networking wasn't all too popular, and Kyle was rich and therefore on vacation. So for many reasons, we didn't talk much until school started. I bring up the camp on the first day of school, and Kyle doesn't want to discuss it at all. I saw him stepping into the counselor's office later that day. Anyways, life moves on. Kyle and I stay really close friends, but he stays a bit quieter than he had been. I eventually moved up to Virginia in 9th grade. Kyle and I met up at the beach this past summer, and he had no idea what soccer camp I was talking about. His entire memory of the camp is gone, and he seems like his old self. That's pretty much all I have to say for tonight, and I'm pretty damn tired. I should also mention that I never, not once, heard the screams.
I did this a long time ago. I've never posted my story anywhere because it's pretty uneventful. Be me freshman in high school 6 years ago. Walking home from school and living in an apartment complex. I don't normally walk home, but parents got caught at work. Nothing better to do, so decide to play the elevator game. Half teenage boredom, half because my best friend was really superstitious. I wanted to piss her off by telling her I did this. Got instructions off my phone, do the diddly-do with all the buttons, and suddenly a woman gets on. I think the game is fucked up now, and I might as well just get off on my floor. I realize she got on at the 5th floor. Don't care about instructions. I look at the woman out of the corner of my eye. It's some old woman. I'm not nervous. Old people are common in my complex. She just seems like a super grouchy old woman. She grunts at me once or twice. I caught her scowling at me a few times. 2 breeds of old people in my complex, grouchy and obnoxiously kind. I just think she's of the grouchy variety. Reach the 10th floor. Old grouch grunts out, "Have a nice day." I don't say anything, not because of the game. I just felt like she said it sarcastically. I really hated the rude old people that lived there. The 10th floor was kinda dim, but the lights in this complex sucked. I was never up on 10, so I didn't know if this was the norm, but several other floors had awful lights. Super scary other realm or super scary cheap apartment complex that won't fix their lights? I didn't look for a red cross. It wasn't in the instructions I used years ago. Press the down button, but the other elevator shows up. I cannot get the one I came on to come. I decided to not bother with the elevator and just walk down the stairs to my floor. It was so uneventful I didn't even bother telling my friend, but I wasted a couple minutes, which is part of what I wanted to do.
She was grouchy because you were fucking with the damn elevator, not letting her get in, Autismo.
That would be better than her just being another rude old person. It's impossible for me to have delayed her trip, though. There were 4 elevators in the complex, 2 on each side, and it wasn't a busy time of day. Another elevator would have shown up. The ritual steps are also laid out in such a way she couldn't have been left waiting. The elevators pass 5 every time they go up or down. If she'd have pushed the button in the midst of my supposed ritual, the elevators would have stopped at 5 in the middle of taking me to my floor. Is the ritual dumb? Yeah. Did I piss off some old lady? No, she was pissed off when I got there.
When I was 12, I broke my leg. One day I was at school and my friend and I were using the elevator because of my leg. We pressed the number 3 button. The building had 4 floors. But when we arrived at the 3rd floor, the elevator kept going up. We went to the 4th. There was a screen with the numbers, but it kept going up. The screen showed a 5. That was impossible. There were only 4 floors. Then the door opened. First of all, we were in a Catholic school. Both me and my friend remember exactly the same. When the doors opened, we saw a long corridor, very dark with a tiny window in the end, opposite to us. The spooky thing was that all the walls were full of crucifix and other saints and Virgin Mary images. It was dark without stairs and without anybody or anything else apart from crosses and other religious stuff. We pressed button 3 again. Doors closing. Both scared. We look at each other. No words. After the class, we went outside and checked the building. No 5th floor. Nothing. Impossible. My friend went upstairs and checked that every floor was normal. No dark rooms in front of the elevator. We have no idea of what that was. But now, 10 years later, we still remember the same story and we feel shivers every time we speak about it. It's true, I swear. We still live in the same city. I'm Spanish. And some days we walk by the school and we always look up, but there are only 4 floors. Always. We are not religious, but that was a very strange experience full of Catholic symbolism, in a dark and terrifying way. There is something else. One day, me and my friend, I can't remember if this was before or after the elevator day, tried to do Ouija. I made a paper with the letters, numbers, and yes, no, and we tried to contact someone. It was in the morning and we were 4 or 5 kids doing stupid things. My father has done a lot of Ouija, and he always tell me never try it, it's not worth it. It was not working, so I decided to make fake movements to scare the other kids, and it worked. The older brother of one of them came to me the next day and asked me to never play again with his brother because he had terrible nightmares. Apart from that story, there are no more creepy things at school, but it was also a nun's residence, so we are sure some of them have died in there. Some of the older kids told us stories about the ghosts of nuns. They advised us not to go to the east wing of the building, the residence, and a few more spooky things.
I have been living in my room for about 10 years now. Moved here when I was 13. It's a nice, large room featuring 2 windows. One of them is taking up a whole wall and faces the roadside. The other one is just a regular window facing our driveway. The house itself is somewhat old, built during the 70s, but still in good shape and taken care after. My parents bought it from a man whose dad had built it. He was eager to move in himself and did a number of repairs, but only a month after moving into his new home, his wife died. Back then, we didn't ask what happened to her. It seemed like an impolite thing to do. I just always assumed she died in a car crash. I recently started to wonder. As I mentioned, I've been living here for the past 10 years. I have always been pretty happy with our choice to move here. The house is pretty big, even for European standards where I live. Comes with a large garden and lies directly by the woods. When I was a kid, I sometimes got frightened at night. Being isolated on a small village close by the woods, it was so quiet at night you could hear your own blood run through your veins. No wind, no animals, nothing moved outside. I used to stay up to 2 or 3 a.m., but the nature of the house, old and made partially out of large chunks of wood, cracked and made uncomfortable noises, so I was usually pretty afraid to go outside my comfy room to get a drink or a nighttime snack. Not being very believing in supernatural or paranormal happenings, I always grappled up the balls to exit my room and walk through our house. My room is in the basement. The kitchen is on the upper floor, thinking, what's the worst that could happen? And of course, nothing ever happened, not even sudden noises nearby that made me jump caused by the house itself. Nothing, until now. The reasons I'm now typing my story up are the happenings that started about a month ago. I'm a heavy sleeper, so I usually close the front large window with the shades, but I'd leave the shades for the window facing the driveway open, so the sun would wake me up in the morning. At nighttime, a little light from the street lamps usually flooded my room. Not much, barely enough to make out what's going on outside. About a month ago, I was laying in my bed and reading one of my books until I got tired enough to turn off the lights and close my eyes. I was probably laying there for about 2 or 3 minutes when I heard a sudden, hard, loud bang on my window. I swear to God, I jumped out of the bed and turned 180 degrees to face the window, but nothing. My heart was pumping so hard it was not out of scariness, but it was just so sudden and unexpected. It never happened before. We have very large windows in our living room on both sides of the rooms. On sunny days, birds occasionally hit the windows because they don't realize there's glass in between. Gives a very hard, loud knock. But they never hit my window. Thinking it was probably just my crazy cat, I tried to cool down and went to sleep again. Not a very relaxing, energizing sleep, but sleep after all. The next morning I asked my parents about it, but neither of them had heard anything last night. I just shook it off as some noise was caused by the structure. Maybe my window frame was getting old. It's made out of wood. A few days later, I had already forgotten about it. The same event happened again, exactly as the time before. Nothing to see. I went to the window to look outside, but still I couldn't see anything. I got the faint impression of someone standing on the other end of the road, but I assumed it was either my eyes failing me or somebody walking his dog. I was dead wrong to shake it off again. The bangs started to come more frequently, every night after a while, and sometimes more than once. I got so annoyed that I ordered a technician to check out the framing, but he thought the wood was perfectly okay and found no explanation for it. It also started to creep me out, slowly realizing those sounds only came during the night. 3 days ago, I was so creeped out that I closed the shades of the window. For the first time, I felt safe again, just shutting the outside out of my room. I was laying down and started to read again until I got tired and finally went to sleep. All of a sudden, my room turned into a living hell. Somebody was knocking at my shades like a madman, hammering with both fists over and over again. I could hear a high-pitched voice screaming gibberish words that I did not understand. Yet the ice-cold river that ran down my back told me I was not asleep. It kept going on for a period that felt like forever. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, it stopped. It just stopped as if nothing ever happened. I sat in my room in shock, not daring to move or look around. I probably sat there for hours, completely terrified. This was not a cat or my window making weird noises. This was a maniac, a stalker, a madman, or women by the sounds of the voice. I could not recall a single word of what it had screamed. I probably fell asleep on the floor at some point in time. I awoke the next morning stenched in my own sweat. I opened up the shades and was greeted by the sun. It was probably around 11 a.m. already. I looked around, but no sign of a nightly visitor. I let the shades down again and went outside to have a look at them, but nothing. I suspected they had to be damaged, guessing from the noises last night somebody hammered their fists on them for an eternity, but nothing. Next step was my parents. I went upstairs to ask the obvious, even though I was already imagining the answer. Of course they didn't hear anything. This was ridiculous. The noises must have woken up the whole street. I slept in the living room the night after, where the shades are always closed, and left the shades in my room open again. For the first time in weeks, I could sleep perfectly well. Nobody banged on the windows or shades, and even though I didn't want to, I automatically focused on the noises from downstairs. But tonight, I didn't hear anything, not even the usual bang on my window. Maybe I just didn't hear them. Yesterday, I decided to sleep in my room again. It was probably the worst decision of my life. I decided to leave the shades open again. I didn't hear anybody going rogue on my window the night before, and at least this way I could see whatever or whoever was causing those noises. I kept my cell phone close by and had the number for the police already dialed in. I also kept a large kitchen knife next to my bed. If this was some creepy-ass stalker, I'd be prepared. I desperately tried to go to sleep yesterday, but I was way too excited. So I just rolled over, cuddled up in my blanket, closed my eyes, and pretended to sleep. It was late in the night, probably around 4 a.m. I was already in a somewhat soft lullaby sleep, dozing off, thinking nothing would happen. Perhaps that weird person got too afraid to come back after his act 3 days ago. I was dead wrong. I awoke from a rhythmical noise. It took me some time to realize the noise was banging on my window, but it was different. Not like the hard, loud bangs that have kept me awake the past weeks, and not the wild hammering that left me in shock. It was almost gentle, a soft, rhythmic noise as if somebody was knocking at my window to wake me up. I grabbed the knife in my phone and turned around in an instant to freak that guy out, but it wasn't a guy. And that knife in my hand suddenly felt as useless as a stick in a sword fight. I was looking into the staring eyes of something I still have no idea of. It was human, I think, or at least humanoid. I couldn't make out much, but I could clearly see its face, half rotten, frozen in a mad grin. The eyes. The eyes were the most terrifying. The face looked dead, but the eyes, they definitely were alive. Lurking in the night, starring. I ran out of my room and hid in the basement until the sun came out. I went directly to my computer and am now typing this up. I'm afraid to turn around and look at the window. I'm afraid to go to sleep.
3 years ago, at college, 5th level science building is split into 2 buildings, PIC related. There are 2 elevators right next to each other on the first floor indicated here. There are 2 other separate elevators in the gray building. It's around 2 p.m. in the spring. I need to talk to one of my professors about something. It's only my second time going to these offices, and I forget they're on the 3rd floor. Go straight to the 5th floor by accident. Step out and feel disoriented. There's a window and it looks like the sun is setting. It's a deep orange and close to the horizon. To my right, there's a guy sitting at a small school desk who I see out of my peripheral vision. He looks interested for a second, then pretends to look at whatever he's doing. Say hi and walk past him towards what I think is the gray building and PIC-related. I realize I need to be on the 3rd floor. I'm still really disoriented. As I'm walking back to the elevator, the guy is now just standing. I almost say something to him, but don't. There's only one elevator when there should be 2. Walk towards the elevator and push the button. Here, guy started quickly walking towards me. Door opens right before he gets to me and I get in. Guy is gone. Go back to 1st floor because I don't understand why there was only one elevator. Get off and no longer feel disoriented. Get out, and there are definitely 2. Go to the 3rd floor. Go back down and start walking to my car when the sun is still bright yellow and high in the sky. Read on /x/ about the Korean elevator game. Almost get worried, but there needs to be 10 floors. Look it up, and apparently it works in 5-story buildings as well if you immediately go to the 5th floor. Shit bricks. Tell friend about how it's weird both elevators don't go to the 5th floor. We go to the 5th floor and there are 2 elevators, no windows. We laugh it off. I say, haha, I must have been really tired. Tried it again with another friend, but it didn't work either. Apparently the world you go into tries to get you lost, and the elevators move away from you. You're never supposed to look at or talk to anyone, which I kind of fucked up. If there was only one elevator and it was gone when I went back to it, I would have been fucked. Weirdest thing I've experienced.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.